I don't really think I chose to ever pursue music.
I know we've only just met, but baby, I'm obsessed. Don't even know your name yet, but baby, you're undressed in my head.
I am Justin J. Moore. I am a musician. Mostly I'm a singer. I grew up in a family of opera singers, so my parents were both opera singers, trained at Juilliard. I studied under them many years as I grew up and learned a lot about music theory and a lot about singing technique. I just watched them sing a lot, and I think a lot of it is observation, and I just kind of gathered up a bunch of knowledge over the years. And so I do all sorts of stuff with my musical abilities now. I do session vocals for different people around the world. I play different instruments for people. I make my own music. I help people write their music. I produce stuff for people. Being, I guess, good at music has made it really easy to have a really interesting career. But I think I just kind of ended up doing it because, you know, we see our parents doing things and we see things around us, and we just kind of end up thinking that that's the way things are. And so I remember never making any kind of conscious decision. There was no pressure to succeed growing up. My parents were both very accepting. You know, neither of them pushed me towards any kind of career path or any kind of altering life decisions regarding, you know, my future professional life. Like they let me make my decisions, and they were very respected people in their communities, and that knowing that your parents are respected like that is a huge confidence booster, because they're the ones raising you, and you know, if people like them, then they're doing something right, and hopefully that rubs off on you, and I think it did. And growing up, I was in lots of bands and stuff, and I never really stopped doing music. I really never even started. I just kind of, like, the second I could talk, I was singing, and I was playing guitar when I could, you know, get my hands on that. Back before I knew how to produce, the only way to create a big sound and recreate songs was to have a band. So I think what I was doing from a young age was just realizing that I wanted to play these songs that I was hearing, and I wanted to play them really well. And back then, the only way to do that was with a band. Now I can produce the whole band myself and make the whole track myself, which is amazing. It's one of the reasons why I absolutely fell in love with producing. But back then, it was like, it's the only thing I could do.
I am Zach Noseworthy. I was the drummer in Harmonia, and I would say what made Harmonia so successful would be probably how young all of us were, and like how much potential we had. Like everybody was like very talented, like especially for like their ages.
Our band had to stop performing because my piano player had to move away, and yeah, like we talk about how much we miss playing in our band, but there really wasn't another option. It was like we either had to stop the band or replace our piano player, but the piano player was such a core part of the band's foundation, and it just wasn't even sensical to replace him. Some of the shows that we played, like, I'll remember forever. Like I think some of my all-time best memories have been at some of the shows that band played. And so I don't think there's anything to regret, but I definitely do miss playing live music with a group of you know, my friends. They're still probably my top 3 best friends.
Well, me and Justin occasionally we'll play shows together, like wineries and stuff, like mostly acoustic stuff. And he's a lot more into the music scene in Kelowna and around there. So I tend to tag along for a lot of the shows that he plays.
If you listen, then you know this is for you. Thought a song about a breakup is something I never do, but
My most recent project was a music video for a song that I produced and wrote and recorded everything. The song was called Someone Who Loved You Can, and the video was a really, really good representation of what the song was. I worked with a small team on that. Everybody worked for free. We got actors, we got a couple videographers and a director, and everybody worked for free because it was a really, really passion-fueled project, and people were really invested in it. And we came out with a really good product because it was a really exciting group of people, and everyone was just like hungry to make something awesome. It was really cool to see one of my songs actually come to life in such a professional, like a professionally produced visual piece of art. You know, it came out a lot better than I thought it would, and people also received it a lot better than I thought they would. So it was a beautiful surprise. It's really hard to describe my music because I'm still learning what the style that I want to really pursue is. It's obviously influenced by classical music and opera, but not directly, and you would never really know that. It's more probably some kind of commercial pop that's also infused with elements of more advanced musical theory that, you know, takes inspiration from funk and jazz and R&B and honestly from opera. So I'm hoping that I will be able to refine a style of music as I get older that incorporates different elements of my more technical background into commercial pop music, so that it's, you know, widely accepted and widely liked, but also is introducing people to a certain kind of sound that they may not be used to hearing, or a certain kind of chords that people might not used to be hearing, or a melody or instruments, you know, just a way to make commercial pop that's a little bit different than your everyday commercial pop. The number one highlight to date of my musical career has been the video with my dad that got 300,000 views on YouTube. That was number one thing that has ever happened to me in my entire life. We put out a video that we didn't think anybody was going to really care about, and woke up to 10,000 views, and then woke up to 50,000, and then 100,000, and then we were on global news, and we were all over Facebook. We got hundreds and thousands of shares. I was getting thousands of messages on Facebook and Instagram. Like, that was so exciting, absolutely life-changing. My all-time best performance is it was with a band. I've done a lot of different kinds of performances. I've done performances as a solo like opera singer, tenor with the symphony orchestras, and then I've done, you know, band shows which are more casual and people are dancing and drinking. The band shows are really fun, and one time we played one at a bar called O'Flanagan's, and it's this Irish pub, and we were playing cover songs, and we played for 4 hours, and we had people on their feet dancing, singing along, stomping for hours. And we were only 17 at the time, so we weren't even technically allowed in that bar, but we got in there and to play, and we gave them a hell of a show. I think there's something to be said about the amount of confidence that you get when you get that kind of reaction from anything that you do. There's always it's always a double-edged sword, and the one side of it is that you are finally being recognized for something that you've created or something that you've produced, and you're being recognized widely by it, and you're getting a lot of positive feedback that reinforces your belief in yourself and really does stick with you. You know, if you're down one day, you can think, well, remember that time that happened? Well, people do like what I make, so, you know, keep moving forward. But at the same time, it does absolutely raise your expectations to a level that can almost never be replicated. The worst part about performing is super easy. It is a emotional roller coaster and an anxiety-provoking nightmare at times, especially the bigger the show. After the show, you come down from this insane high, and you just feel very low the next day. And then if you have to perform again the next day, you've got to force yourself out of bed to get there, and then you go up, and then you go way down again. And right before I get on stage, there's a major shock to your system. Like, your body is telling you that you're about to enter the mouth of hell, essentially. You have to just clear your mind as best you can and just move your feet. Like, don't think about anything else other than just moving your feet onto the stage. And when you get on the stage, it's really hard to feel anxious on the stage because you are, one, in a complete, like, adrenaline overdose euphoria. The negatives are at least equal, but probably outweigh the positives for performing. You don't make a lot of money from it unless you're doing massive shows. And even if you are doing massive shows, the kind of anxiety and emotional ups and downs that brings are just going to do serious damage to your nervous system, like permanently. And, that's why people end up on drugs and they end up just completely ill after a tour, because they forego all of their personal health in order to be this perfect performer every single night. And it's just too much. It's too much for the body. It's too much for any person. We're not built to withstand that kind of attention. And it really shows. I think because of the videos, the behind the scenes videos that are coming out of performers, I think the public is becoming more aware of the negative aspects of performing, giving you an insight into what the life actually was like behind the scenes rather than just what was being showed on the camera. And, for someone like Justin Bieber, there was obviously huge amounts of negative, repercussions to his career exploding. And I think depending on how big you go, I think normally when you get pretty big, you're always going to run into a ton of stress. And I think people are starting to realize that. Mental health is, your brain is your fuel. And if your brain isn't working the way that it should, then you don't have any fuel and your creativity takes a massive hit because of it. I find that the more energy I have, the more creative I can be. And so that means, getting as much sleep as I can and trying to eat well and exercise and do all these things, because that helps me fuel my brain. But when I actually sit down to maybe write something, I have to be in a very specific kind of mood, and it has to be a highly creative, highly open and excited and energetic mood, so that I can, because even just creating something is filled with ups and downs. You're making something and then you're not sure if it's good, but you have to push over that initial hump that it might not be good. And then the next one, you think, oh, this isn't good again. And so then you have to get over that hump again. And that requires a ton of energy. And so you have to be ready to have that kind of energy. And honestly, after I sit down to write a song and I've gone through the writing process and I've, figured it all out, I'm exhausted. It's time to freaking go to bed after that, because it's just so much on the brain. It's like, you feel great about yourself and then you don't feel good, and then you feel great and then you don't feel good, and it just keeps going. There's never been a time that I've wanted to quit. There's been a time where I've wanted to quit certain aspects of music. There were times where I wanted to quit the band, and there was times where I've wanted to quit, making YouTube videos and things and making Instagram videos. But the actual core of music is a multi-path industry, and there's so many different ways that you could take it. If you don't like one aspect of it, then you go somewhere else.
Being like a part of music, like if it comes naturally to you, and if it's something that like inspires you or like gives you some sort of personal growth, that it's very like worth doing. It's worth putting in that time and like learning more about it. And if there's one thing I wish I did right away, was go to music school, because like I always thought that it was like a bit of a like play some songs that I like or something like that. It's something that you can really teach yourself if you really put the time into it. And it's true, you can, but the difference is motivation to do it. Like when you're in school, it's like, I'm gonna get a bad grade if I don't do well in this. But when you're like just out doing your own thing, it's kind of like, I could do that, or I could goof around for a bit and like play some songs that I like or something like that.
I think in the future I will. Well, right now I own a business. It's more of like a marketing agency that utilizes audio to market businesses, and I see that business being quite successful, and I'm hoping that will cover the majority of my expenses and also be the major contributor to my savings, while also still doing session vocals and hopping on different songs that I like and helping people write things, and just being kind of like a jack of all trades in the music industry. And also I'd like to create an album and then create a music video for each song on that album and really do it right. Music and performing always took precedence over other things. So, many things didn't matter like music mattered. That fiery passion that does burn inside of me really takes control of the things that I do, and it almost always pushes me towards doing something musical.